All right, one last look at your traffic and weather from the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Center. Got one slowdown between Highway 378 and Broad River Road, and another one, and that's all the slowdowns on traffic for today. Today's high is 85 with a mix of clouds and sunshine. Tomorrow, high of 86. Saturday, a high of 85. It's traffic and weather here on the Early Game. Nine o'clock on your Thursday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry with you here on the game, getting set for another loaded weekend of football. Got some Thursday night football action tonight. Maybe the best Thursday night football game of the entire year between the Commanders and the Packers. I mean, I'm saying for like the Amazon Prime version of Thursday night football, I get it. You know, last week was Eagles and Cowboys, and we'll have the games on Thanksgiving Day. But like for like the Thursday night football prime package, this might be the best game.
I would probably say so. I mean, I haven't looked at the full schedule yet. I know the Bills are playing the Dolphins next week on Thursday, but that's obviously nowhere near as good as this one. This should be a pretty cool game. I saw the Packers making it a whiteout, so that'll be pretty sick. And yeah, I'm looking forward to watching tonight.
I think I saw the Chiefs and the Broncos play one of the games later on the year. That's interesting, but I don't know. I feel like this is a pretty high-level matchup between two teams that could legitimately be at the top of the NFC this year. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, and yeah, man, it's going to be a jam-packed weekend, like you said.
Oh, yeah, we finally get into some conference play this weekend, like across the board, and not everybody is playing conference opponents. You still have a lot of cupcakes being played, but for last weekend where you only had one conference game, that being between Ole Miss and Kentucky, we at least get a few more. Carolina starts conference play, so we really start kind of getting into the meat of the season a little bit, and by next weekend, I think everybody, Big Ten, Big 12, ACC, everybody will be fully in the swing of playing conference games finally.
Yeah, which is good to see. I mean, I like these early season matchups, but a lot of these games typically are these big Power 4 opponent or Power 4 opponents, and then they're playing against these cupcakes. It's like
we got to balance it, right? You can't play the murderer's row right out of the gate and then play your SEC schedule. Nobody's going to do that.
No, definitely not. So, I'm looking forward to conference play, and I'm looking forward to this matchup this weekend. Again, the trash talk just continues. Ooh. Did you see the clip yesterday of it was like Theo Vaughn and I Show Speed at practice yesterday, and Diego gives him I think I Show Speed the option of how to break it down, and
I did.
It's either F South Carolina or win on 3,
and Speed said, "Why are we hating on South Carolina?" And he said they're getting in the way of the vision.
Yeah,
it's
insane.
I said this yesterday. I can respect the confidence, and again, it's still such a foreign concept because this is Vanderbilt we're talking about. This is supposed to be the punching bag, the team that you're supposed to beat by 30 points and mark as a W in July, right? This isn't your, granddaddy's Vanderbilt team or even your dad's Vanderbilt team this time around. They're playing with confidence. They have playmakers like Diego Pavia, and I think they're going to be a handful on Saturday night. I think Carolina's going to win, which I do still got to get my staff picks to you now that I remembered it.
All good.
Yeah, because I kind of haven't decided what my final score is going to be yet, but it's not going to be an easy game.
No, it definitely will not be an easy game by any means. I think a lot of people are worried about this one because, I mean, again, it's Vanderbilt, but it's like, and you've beaten them so many times now to where it's like, you should do it again, but this is easily the best team you're going to see, specifically with Vanderbilt I can't even tell you the last time Vanderbilt's been this good. I mean, they were fine last year, but obviously it wasn't much of a game.
They were a 9-win team back in the early 2010s with James Franklin, but Carolina still won those games because that's when Carolina was undoubtedly at the best that they ever been. So even when Vanderbilt was playing good football, Carolina still was getting over on them. It's been 2008 since the last time Carolina lost to them. By the way, I know they asked Nick Harvey this from WIS. How old were you? What grade were you in back in October of 2008? Do you remember?
I would have been 8 years old. But what grade was I in?
Yeah. What grade would that be for you?
Let's see. What in the heck was kindergarten? I was like 05. 06 would be first grade. 07 would be second. I'd be in third grade in 08.
Okay. I would have been in 7th grade at that point in time. So either way, a long time ago.
Yeah, that's we're talking almost 20 years ago now. That's crazy.
I know. And again, it's great that Carolina has that win streak, and we obviously hope we can keep that going. It's really good, no matter who it is in the SEC, when you can say, yeah, they've beaten, Alabama and Georgia and Florida more recently than they've beaten South Carolina.
Oh, no, totally. It's just crazy how long. You remember Kentucky's losing streak to
it's 30 years.
Florida? I mean, when did they break that?
That was
like a few years ago? Or
2-3 years ago?
It's insane.
Because the joke was I think it had gotten to 29 years. Because the joke was nobody beats Kentucky 30 years in a row.
Yeah, it was in the swamp too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Was that Mullen's final year? I think it may have been. If it wasn't Mullen's final year, it was Napier's first.
Shoot, I mean,
one of those.
It's just, I'm trying to think. I think it was under Mullen, honestly.
I think it might have been Mullen. And I think that might have been one of the many contributing factors to why Dan Mullen ended up getting fired.
I'm going to look at this up. I feel like this is so long ago, dude. Let's see. Yeah, I don't even.
So his last year would have been 2021.
So, actually, it was 20. I figured it was longer ago. 2018.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, 27-16. They ended ended one of college football's longest losing streaks. Yeah, I figured it was a little longer ago, and this was definitely under Mullen then.
Yeah,
hold on.
That was Mullen's first year.
Yeah, because Jim McElwain was there.
It was in 2017, and that was the second game of the year for Florida. Yeah, and they lost, and they actually still ended up being a good Florida team, but yeah, they lost to Kentucky 2018. Wow, I can't believe it was that long ago. That's crazy.
Neither can I. So hopefully Carolina's doesn't come to an end.
Carolina is halfway to having a 30-year streak over Vanderbilt, which we hope
more than halfway now.
A little more than halfway, which we hope continues coming up this weekend. We'll dive into a lot of this matchup, including the availability report, which did come out last night, in just a second, but it is 9 o'clock, and as always, we must kick things off with our Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up.
Time to get hyped. Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm, sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
It is time for 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803 all nines. By the way, looking at this Florida page from 2018, here's a name you haven't heard in a while. How about Felipe Franks at quarterback?
Holy.
Who is now still a tight end with the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, my God. I think he was drafted in baseball, too, for whatever reason. It feels like quarterbacks are.
He was not a good quarterback.
No. Well, hold on.
He was okay.
Hold on.
He wasn't great.
Didn't he get Florida? Wasn't he on one of those teams where Florida got to the SEC championship?
No.
So
he had transferred to Arkansas by that year.
I mean, hold on. You're sure?
Yeah. So his 3 years at Florida were 17, 18, and 19. Georgia went to the SEC championship all 3 of those years.
Really? Okay.
Yes. And remember, in his third year, he got hurt, and they started Kyle Trask, which
Kyle
Trask was a much better quarterback than him.
Hey, he was a Heisman finalist one year, wasn't he?
Well, and that was the knock on Dan Mullen is like, hey, how did you not realize this guy was better than Felipe Franks? Because they automatically got a lot better when Trask started playing. But yeah, Felipe Franks There's a dude.
There's a blast from the past.
Yes, he was also drafted by the Red Sox in 2019.
There you go. There you go.
If you needed another reason to hate him, there you go.
But he's still with the Falcons?
He's still with the Falcons. He's
like practice squad?
Is he on? He is.
Or is he?
He's still on the roster. I think.
Oh my God.
I think he's just. Okay, he's at least as of last year was on the active roster.
He's still with the team.
Yeah, he's still with the team. I don't know if he's on practice squad or not at this exact.
It's crazy though. I mean, he's got the size and weight to be a tight end.
He does. Right now, this shows him listed on the active roster. Now he's probably 4th out of 4, but he's there.
Crazy.
So there you go. There's your update on where Felipe Franks is as of right now. Getting back to Josh Simon, by the way, also a Falcon. Though I think they cut him from the 53, but he's on the practice squad.
Yeah.
So either way, there's your update on Felipe Franks and what he's doing right now. Yesterday we got our first availability report of the 2025 season, which again only happens prior to SEC versus SEC games. And it's a small report, which is good because there was a long list of guys banged up from this past weekend. On the probable list, you have Bakari Swain, Brandon Cisse, and Jaquel Hallman, who all got dinged up to various degrees on Saturday against SC State. And then doubtful, you have Judge Collier, who, of course, is one of your starting cornerbacks, and Brady Hunt, who, of course, what was his injury this past weekend? I don't even remember.
Nobody ever said anything about what the injury was. Like, Beamer never mentioned it specifically, other than the fact that he was just undergoing some testing. So I'm not even sure, to be honest.
And when I read doubtful, in my mind, that is, okay, this guy is probably not going to play outside of just waking up and feeling amazing on Saturday. Probable means you're probably good to go, and maybe unless you just feel something hindering you in pregame warmups, you're probably going to be fine. But I lean towards Collier and Hunt not playing until I see them. Basically,
I do too. I mean, and that's a big loss for at tight end and at defensive back. But again, the positive is that you got 3 guys on there that are, probable to play. So, I mean, that's a big thing. And also, there were a bunch of guys that weren't even listed on there. I didn't see Jalen Kilgore on there, which is good to see.
Well, and I think his sitting out this past weekend was just precautionary.
Totally.
More than it, because he was on pitch count against VT. And we said last week, like, hey, if you think that he's, dinged up, don't even let him suit up against SC State. You'll be fine otherwise.
Yeah, but having 3 DBs be probable, I know you probably lose one with Judge this weekend, but again, that's a positive that you can have those 3 guys out there. And I'm trying to think. Oh, JT Gear's another one. It's not even on this list, so that's another good one. So
Josiah Thompson also, who was a little bit dinged up. He's not on this list either, so that means he should be okay.
Yeah, I think they're in pretty good shape, to be honest. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, this thing will be updated nightly.
Yeah, and the hope is that Collier and Brady can move at least to that probable side of the list. And for Hunt specifically, and again, there's been issues on offense, but what we've seen out of him so far this year has been good, and you kind of see that he's occupying that Josh Simon-esque type of role as one of Sellers' most reliable targets when he's needed to be. He was a big part of that first drive against VT where they went down and scored that touchdown. So you'd love to have him available if possible. But, again, right now I'm leaning towards probably not.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So we'll see what happens. That's your availability report heading into this weekend, or heading into today at least. They'll have another one tonight. Tomorrow, and then what is it, 90 minutes before kickoff on Saturday?
That is correct.
That'll be the final one. So we'll see if any of that changes. And Beamer tonight on Carolina Calls, 7 o'clock, by the way, right here on the game, can provide any updates on those guys and who might have a possibility of playing this weekend coming up on Saturday. We'll dive into the special teams angle of this game because it's not just Bakari Swain. Vandy has plenty of reasons to make you tune in for 4th downs and kickoffs and so forth coming up on Saturday. We'll dive into that coming up next. It is The Extra Point. It's our head and Jack Belcher along with you on your Thursday here on The Game.
I've been teasing him since I first got here, watching him, and he's got great ball skills. It's really cool to watch. Offensively, you know, we're getting ready to go out there on the field to go try to do our thing and make first downs and go score, and then all of a sudden you see the ball get returned for a touchdown, and he's really, you know, just this is as an outsider, so to speak, because I coach on offense, but just kind of watching him and watching his maturity and his development since I've been here, and to see his hard work pay off has been pretty cool. He's very talented, and like you said, he's got some skills that you could use on offense. But no, defense loves him, and we're happy that he's playing where he is and on defense and special teams.
Welcome back in Extra Points. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry with you on your Thursday here on the game. That was Gamecock offensive coordinator Mike Shula yesterday when asked the question of, hey, could Swain maybe find his way onto the offense? Of course, he did it back in high school, and you've seen his versatility when it comes to what he's able to do on special teams over these past couple weeks. Now, Shula, even if he was going to use him, wouldn't tell us on Thursday, right? That was something to be like, hey, wow, look, you know, Swain's lining up at slot receiver or something like that. It's something you'd want to spring on your opponents. But I say this, I think he'd be a fun guy to watch on offense, and you could probably use him in a variety of ways.
No, totally. I mean, that's why I asked the question yesterday, because I saw some people talking about it on Twitter, like, hey, why doesn't he play, you know, two ways, play on he would really be a three-way player, honestly, because he also plays special teams. So, I mean, again, it's the thought of it is really interesting, just because it's like you see that speed, you see the way he's able to cut, make plays happen. Again, he played receiver in high school as well, so very talented player, and obviously someone that Carolina could use on offense. But again, I mean, you have a lot of guys like him out there that can make a lot of plays, so hopefully the receivers don't really need him to step into the room at any point.
Has Travis Hunter had that much of an effect on us where we think about these things more now? And again, Travis Hunter's not the first guy to play two ways. There have been plenty of guys over the years, especially at the college level, that have, you know, been DBs and had offensive packages and stuff like that. But he was obviously the first one to do it at as high of a clip since, you know, basically Charles Woodson, you know, back in the day when he won the Heisman Trophy. But now I think maybe we're more inclined to look at somebody that has those abilities, say, hey, man, get that guy the ball on offense, you know, 5 plays a game or something like that, and see what he can do.
The thing I worry about, man, is not the fact that Carolina is not going to do it, but what if in the offseason he has a good year and then another team comes calling or something about, you know, hey, we can get you playing both ways if you really want to, you know?
That's also, yeah, that's a good, that's an angle that you have to consider now.
Yeah, like we'll give you the X, Y, and Z in terms of money, but we'll also let you play both offense and defense. And who knows if Vakar even wants to play any offense. I mean, again, we have not heard a single peep about that in terms of, like, him being disgruntled or anything that he's not playing offense as well. Like, again, never heard anything like that. He seems very happy with what he's doing right now, and heck, he may not even want to play offense. So,
well, and the interesting thing is, you know, with him, him being number 4, you could probably throw some people for a loop because what is it? Mike Tyler's number 4, right? Or is it Michael Smith?
It's Michael Smith.
Because that's right. He was 20 last year.
He was, but
he's 4 this year. But again, he's a tight end, and you have obviously 2 different skill sets because, you know, Vakari Swain's smaller, a little bit speedier, where at least just because, again, sizing people up can be something that, you know, takes a second, right? You see number 4 trotting out on the field, it's like, oh, okay, that's Michael Smith at tight end. And then you're like, oh, crap, wait, that's Vakari Swain. And, like, you could really catch the defense off guard by that because, again, when they look for 4 on offense, they'd be looking for Michael Smith.
That is a good point. That is a good way to look at it. Maybe that will be the case. I mean, I'm not sure, to be honest, but I don't see him playing offense anytime soon.
I don't either. If he did trot out there, and my goodness, if he's already getting so much love for what he's doing on special teams, imagine if he took like a jet sweep 70 yards for a touchdown or something like that.
Place would freak out.
It'd go crazy. I'd be here for it. That's for sure. And the question becomes, all right, well, he's already tied the school record for punt return touchdowns through, because he didn't play the last half Saturday, in 6 quarters of action. And again, he's on the list of probable guys. He can't do it 3 weeks in a row. Like that's impossible, right? There's no way this can happen.
Well, it's not impossible.
It's not impossible. But like the universe and law of averages tell you that this should not happen in football. But, man, if it did, especially at home again, my goodness.
I mean, never tell him the odds. So, I mean, look, it's certainly not impossible, but I will say Vanderbilt is very good on special teams. And, Beamer was asked the question, I think it was Beamer that was asked the question a few days ago, like, what do you do about, like, do you guys expect Vanderbilt to not kick to Vicari? Or no, it was Joe D, actually.
Yeah.
Do you have that cut you want to play?
Yeah. That he made a really good point where he basically says, avoiding punting to someone isn't quite as simple as it might be, as you might think.
Everyone says that. It's so hard to do because the one thing that nobody gets is that, you can just punt it out of bounds. That's what everyone says, right? But the problem with that is you have to protect for the punt too. It's kind of like, it's really pass protection when you get the punt protection, to be honest with you. And if your edges are getting creased, there's no way to punt it out of bounds, So that's the problem with it. And most guys aren't able to just automatically turn it into, hey, I'm going to punt it out of bounds every time. Yeah, you can punt it out of bounds and get about 20 yards. So you're still getting the same effect. But it's harder than it seems, I can tell you that much. Have I ever played against guys like that? Yeah, Devin Hester. I mean, he was always scary. I can go through a ton of them in the league, but those guys are definitely game changers, and hopefully we can, take number 4 out of it this week for sure, because he's really special.
And he brings up a really good point there, because especially at the college level, precision punting isn't going to be as accurate as it is in the NFL. And sure, there's situations where, you have a guy that's lined up, backed up towards his own goal line. You're punting from like the 50-yard line. You just kind of aim it or angle it out of bounds and try and pin him within his own 20 or whatever. But if you're intentionally just trying to kick it where somebody can't return it at all and trying to go out of bounds every single time, you're going to run into some really, really short kicks. You know what I mean? So you're in a way, you're almost allowing that other side to win regardless, because like Jody said, if you're kicking it out of bounds, 20 yards down the field from where you're punting it from, well, guess what? You just netted them 30 yards in field position that they wouldn't have otherwise had if the guy was fair catching it. So it's not quite as easy to just go away from somebody that's a really hot returner like Swain is.
So I think we're going to see Vanderbilt want to kick it to him still, challenge him, dare him to go out there and do it again. And look, it'll be up to their punt coverage unit to go ahead and get in there. But honestly, I think South Carolina's blocking has been very, very good on these punt return touchdowns. Like, they have not gotten a single penalty on any of these ones that Swain has scored on yet. And you just look at it. You look at the tape from week 2, or you have like 6 or 7 guys leading the way on these returns. That's exactly what you need if you're South Carolina this week against a coverage unit like Vanderbilt. And the main thing that, has allowed Vicari to get, to the second level and just continue to run is the fact that he breaks out of the first tackle. So he does that. He gets an open hole. He's off to the races. You never know what can happen. I think it's certainly a possibility, but it would be a lot to expect him to do it every single week, because that's one touchdown per game you'd be counting on.
And I guess the idea, if you're Vanderbilt and their punter, hold on, I have his name written down right here, that would be Nick Haberer, who's only punted twice this year, but does have one of the best averages in college football at 51 yards per punt. I guess would be to get more height on it, to where, you're allowing your coverage team to get down there, where you're kind of forcing him in to calling for a fair catch where he doesn't have the opportunity to return it. That would probably be your MO if you're trying to negate what Swain can do.
He could be dangerous out there. But again, Vanderbilt also has some really good returners too. So
they do.
This might be one of the underrated battles of this game that we're talking about Pavia, we're talking about Sellers, we're talking about Gamecock offense trying to pick it up a little bit, and what Vanderbilt just did to Tech. But don't forget these returners for Vanderbilt, they can be nasty.
Yeah, so Junior Sherrill had the opening kickoff return touchdown against Tennessee last year, and Martell Height, who also plays both ways, he's a defensive back but does get some run on offense for them, had the best average punt return in the SEC a season ago. So definitely that third element of the game is one that could be very important in this matchup between South Carolina and Vanderbilt. And I would say, for a game that we think might come down to the wire, how important is William Joyce going to be?
Oof. I mean, this is one. There is going to probably be a game this year where Carolina is going to need him to come through in the clutch, and I could very well see it being this one. I think it is going to be a close game, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
we'll see what happens. Again, he did miss a kick against South Carolina State on Saturday, so hopefully he's got the jitters worked out from that ahead of Saturday night's game. Vanderbilt also very good at explosive plays. We'll hear from Clayton White as he discusses that, and Eli Stowers coming up next as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher getting you set for the Vanderbilt game on Saturday here on the game. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you here on your Thursday on the game. You know, we were talking special teams there just a moment ago, and I'm happy to remind you that the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Touchdown Contest is officially back. We've obviously had a lot of great special teams moments with Vakari Swain so far this year with his 3 punt return touchdowns, and if he's able to do that again this weekend, you can win yourself $100. Just go online to 1075thegame.com and click on the Lawyer Lisa tab and enter for your chance to win the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Touchdown Contest. Again, it had been the Vanderbilt game 2 years ago prior to this year, the last time we had a special teams touchdown, and Vakari Swain has made sure that you're going to be on the edge of your seat every time there is a punt return, a kickoff return this season to see if you can get yourself paid, thanks to our friends over at Lawyer Lisa with the Special Teams Touchdown Contest.
Yeah, we are got a lot of them so far this year. Vakari, he man, deserves an apple for the way he's playing out there, man. He has been tremendous for South Carolina so far this year. How many more touchdowns do you think we see from special teams this year? Like should we set an over-underline now?
That's a really good question because, again, there's you can go through an entire season without one like Carolina did last year.
Yeah, they've done it.
So, I mean, you're not insane to say there wouldn't be another one, but I think I would go 2 more.
That's what I'm thinking too. All right, so let's set for the rest of the year 2 special teams touchdowns. What are we picking here? Are we going over or are we going under?
So if we're are you setting the line at 1.5 or 2.5? So you're saying like 2 would be going under and 3 would be going over. So, or do you want to set it at 1.5?
Let's go 1.5. Just
1.5.
for fun.
Okay.
1.5.
I'll pick over. I'll go with 2. That's my guess.
Okay. Just to be different, I will go under.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I mean, look, it's really tough to have special teams touchdowns, and they've been magnificent on special teams this year. But it would be extremely tough to do so.
You know, again, you've used up, maybe 3 years worth of special teams touchdowns in just the first 6 quarters alone. So it's not easy. And again, every team's going to be accounting for Vakari Swain especially. And don't forget, Nick Harbor is returning kickoffs too. So there's always that possibility that he could break one off and take it to the house. And as I've said, if he does that, I think we might have legitimately one of the loudest moments in Williams-Brice Stadium if he does that at a home game.
I'm waiting for it to happen, man. That's the one thing that's missing right now.
It is. And again, we'll see if that happens. And again, go online to 1075thegame.com and register for the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Touchdown Contest. One thing you have to account for when playing Vanderbilt is their ability with explosive plays, and that's something that Clayton White discussed yesterday when talking to you guys in the media session.
Obviously, they definitely doing a pretty good job of just pushing the ball down the field. I do believe that we continue to work, and obviously we get better at some things. We understand some strengths and weaknesses, what's going on, but right now definitely not concerned. But our guys are continuing to getting better.
So Brent Rollins, who's a data analyst for On3 and a really good follow on Twitter at Brent Rollins PhD, put out yesterday that 2 days ago, the number 1 team in Power 4 in explosive play percentage through 2 weeks is none other than Vanderbilt at 27.9%. Now, this team a year ago didn't really have a ton of explosive plays, particularly when you look at explosive pass plays. They were 112th with 30 total last year. This year, in just 2 weeks alone, they've already got 9, which is 22nd best in the nation.
They have been phenomenal so far this year in big plays. Against Virginia Tech, again, I'm looking at stat broadcast here, and they kind of break it down like a big play is a gain of 15 yards passing, and then a big play rushing is about 10 yards or more.
Yep.
They had 12 in total. So 7 on the ground and 5 through the air. Almost well over 300 yards of offense. That's absolutely insane from 12 plays.
Well, and one thing worth noting, watching the Virginia Tech game that they played last week, 5 of those explosive run plays came in the second half.
Exactly. They were running the football. They were doing anything they wanted in the second half. I mean, they were just bullying Virginia Tech off the line of scrimmage on defense, and then also they were just running the football at will. And, I mean, they ran for almost 300 yards in that game.
They did. Well,
so
199 of them came in the second half alone.
Again, they did not play very good in the first half, but, man, they turned it on in the second half. So you're hoping for Carolina this weekend. You get first half Vanderbilt because that was a group that struggled out of the gate. But again, once they came out of the break, they just looked completely different and dominated that game.
And that's the thing that this offense that they run, again, the spread option from Tim Beck, which he brought with him along with Diego Pavia over from New Mexico State last year, is it can really wear you down. And it's an offense that forces you to play perfect because you have so many things that you have to account for, how to play good assignment football and that kind of stuff. And especially when they're controlling the clock the way that they can. Again, I said this yesterday, Virginia Tech got one possession in the third quarter last week because Vanderbilt just controlled the clock and went on long sustained touchdown drives on either end of that one possession that Virginia Tech had. So if they've been hammering the run, and again, it wasn't as successful early in the game, but when they keep hammering it and keep hammering it and keep hammering it, and you start to get tired because your defense has been on the field for so long and your offense isn't doing enough to give you a rest, that's when they start taking advantage of you in the second half of that game and just start running past you or running through you because you're not as efficient as you were in the first half.
Yeah, you got to be careful with this team. I mean, that's the main worry this weekend, I think, is the fact that, I mean, look, a lot of Vandy is the same in terms of their offense, but, you got to remember, I was talking to a guy yesterday with Vandy's On 3 site. I mean, he was telling me that, Diego had I think it was a partially torn hamstring for most of the season that, affected him in the Carolina game and stuff. So, I mean, not to make excuses, he didn't play particularly great against South Carolina at all, but that is something to consider, that he was nowhere near healthy at that point, and he's got his good receivers back. He's got Eli Stowers as tight end. That run game is really good. It's not just him in the run game anymore. So you can't just account for him to run the football. He can, but also be prepared for the option play with them, and just the way they run downhill. It can be tough to stop.
Well, and you mentioned Eli Stowers there, who is his reliable tight end that also came over from New Mexico State. That's something else Clayton White talked about yesterday.
Well, one, they do a great job of making sure he gets his touches. He's a really good tight end, probably one of the better tight ends coming back in the country. Definitely a weapon down the field, short routes and down the field in the seams and on the sideline. He does a really good job of moving him around. But obviously our guys, we got to tackle the man with the football first and foremost, just basic fundamentals. And we believe in population to the football. I think that also helps as well.
One thing that I remember watching a lot of Vanderbilt last year, when they played Alabama and Texas and teams like that, was, Pavia is really good at keeping the play alive by scrambling, buying time, and it always kind of seemed like he would eventually find, like Eli Stowers, get himself wide open somewhere down the field and make a play. So that is certainly, and again, they have the rapport of being teammates for a couple years now in that same offense. He's somebody that is always going to be looked to as the guy, in an emergency situation or when nothing else happening, as a guy that's always going to be able to get himself open.
I mean, he's a threat. I mean, that is I think he's the highest graded PFF tight end right now. I mean, he is just so good, and he's a reliable option for Diego, but he's also got some really good receivers as well. And as I mentioned, the run game is strong. So many aspects of this Vanderbilt team on offense that are dangerous, and you have to ask yourself with your Carolina, it's not just the defense that you have to worry about stopping him, but can your offense do enough and score enough to win this game? Because, you're going to need them to be able to step up in this one.
Well, this seems like a very important game to Vanderbilt because they've been chirping quite a bit, not only this week, but throughout the entire offseason. We'll dive into that coming up next. And what does Clayton White think about the comments that Diego Pavia has made? We'll discuss that coming up. It is the Extra Point. It's our Ed and Jack Beltry on your Thursday here in the game.
Which one of these games is like circled to you like this is, I got to make sure?
Game 3.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. It's Howard and Jack Beltry along with you here on your Thursday on the Game. That, of course, was the comments made by Diego Pavia earlier on this summer when he was on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast talking about circling game number 3, which, of course, is South Carolina. And yesterday, Clayton White was asked about his thoughts on said comments by Diego Pavia and if that's a motivating tool for his team.
Yeah, I mean, it's a podcast world right now, so I'm pretty sure they saw it. So, like we said earlier, we get motivated by internally here, so we don't need other things to really get us going. We also try to motivate the guy beside us, so we don't really need anything else, to be honest with you. But our guys will be fired up, ready to roll.
That was the right way to say that. I don't believe you, Clayton White, though. I know this has come up a lot, not only in the offseason, but especially this week. Game 3, he's talking about Game 3. We'll show him Game 3. Yeah, that's a motivating tactic if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Carolina's done a pretty good job of handling the noise from the Vanderbilt side of things. You have, Bryce Henderson, offensive tackle for Vanderbilt, talking about how he's basically guaranteeing that Vanderbilt's going to beat South Carolina. And then you have Pavia talking about Game 3. And then also yesterday with we talked about it earlier, the comments with Theo Vaughn and I Show Speed about F South Carolina and, they're in the way of the mission, all this yada, yada nonsense. So, I mean, look, it's I think Carolina has handled it pretty well.
This game feels like a huge deal for Vanderbilt. And I guess the question is, okay, why is that? Why is Vanderbilt treating this game with such a high level? They play tons of big games. Again, they got Alabama and Texas on their schedule once again this year, including going on the road to Alabama, a team that they beat at home that they would love nothing more than to beat twice and do it in Bryant-Denny Stadium this time around. But why South Carolina? Why is the Carolina game so important to them? Clark Lee talked in his presser earlier on this week about how the Carolina game broke his team last year. Like, they were just distraught at halftime, and he said he used that game as a teaching example. So why do they look at this game as of such high importance in Nashville?
Because they got killed in this game last year. They lost by 21 points. That was their largest margin of defeat last year. So they got manhandled in that game by Carolina. And look, they haven't beaten them since 2008. So that's more than enough reasons right there for why I think that Vanderbilt is so locked in on trying to win this game. And that's not to say South Carolina isn't, but South Carolina is focused on winning one game at a time, and every game matters. This is Vanderbilt's Super Bowl in many respects.
I think I heard yesterday Elijah and Preston had Andrew Allegretto, who's the play-by-play voice for Vanderbilt football, on, and they asked him a similar question about, hey, how does this game viewed from the Vandy perspective? And he said, hey, trying to say this as respectfully as possible, that I think they look at South Carolina as a team that they should be able to knock off every now and then, right? Like, again, I think this is maybe kind of the way that Carolina view like a Missouri or an A&M, like, hey, there's no reason these guys should be beating us over and over again. That's a team that isn't in Tier 1 of the SEC that we should be able to get at least, on a regular basis. And I think Vanderbilt views Carolina the same way. As, they don't view themselves as, light years away from where the Carolina program is. So having a 16-year losing streak to them is like, how could that happen? How could we not, even during those best years in the early 2010s, how could they not get over once on Carolina in that long? And I think that really bothers them.
No, totally. And this is a game that, look, some people out there still think Vanderbilt is the old Vanderbilt where, they're going to lay an egg at some point. They're going to, still lose to South Carolina every year and still be same old Vanderbilt. But that's not the case. This is a different type of team, in my opinion. They showed it last year, surprising everyone. And then this year they've gotten off to a good start. But I think to earn the respect of people, to start looking at them as a serious threat, because, again, the SEC is wide open in a lot of ways right now, with Texas losing, Alabama losing. We'll see what happens with Georgia and Tennessee this weekend. If Vanderbilt goes into Columbia, South Carolina this weekend and knocks off a potentially top 10 team in the country, I mean, that is a massive win for them. I mean, beating Alabama last year was a huge deal, but I mean, people might view that one as a fluke. Beating South Carolina, a team that they have not beaten in so long since we were younger and kids, that would be a statement win for them to like put everyone on notice.
So if again, I Show Speed and Theo Vaughn were at Vandy's practice yesterday, if you had to choose like a content creator, influencer, and a comedian to come to Carolina's practice, who would you pick?
I mean, Adam Sandler was in town yesterday, so
That's right. That was yesterday, wasn't it?
yeah. So I would have had Adam Sandler at practice. I would have
good.
I would have had him.
What about the influencer?
Influencer?
Yeah, like a YouTuber, streamer, something like that. That's what I Show Speed is.
I don't know. I mean, who do you think?
I mean, why not go big? Why not Mr. Beast?
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe you could give away a ton of money too. That's what he does.
Yeah, Mr. Beast would be a pretty good one. So.
Yeah. I don't know.
He is he did go to East Carolina.
Yeah.
So
I don't think he's like a football fan though.
I don't know. I mean, doesn't really seem.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and if it's a good business opportunity, he'll do it.
Oh yeah, why not? So.
Yeah, but this is a huge game for Vanderbilt, and we'll continue to break this down as the morning goes along and into tomorrow as well. But coming up next, our favorite super fan, Miss Hopkins, set to join us coming up in the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating as your Thursday rolls along here on the game. 10 o'clock Thursday morning. Welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Head, Jack Veltri, Wes Mitchell hanging out with you here on the game. Jack, did you have to let Wes in? Did he forget his pass card again?
You're dang right. Yeah, he forgot his.
Yeah, hey, word travels. How did word travel back here?
Well,
what?
I saw.
Wait, how did this happen? Because I didn't even mention it.
Well, because I, in the break, looked out the window in my little producing closet here. And
You
I
have
saw,
a window in there?
Yeah, I have a window in here. They allow me to actually look out for a moment. And I saw Jack go open up and look around the lobby. And I was like, what's he doing? I was like, oh, Wes probably forgot his swipe card again.
Again, I do not forget it
You
that much.
You forgot it a while back.
Like once,
It's
ever.
It's like the second time.
You know
So-
what? You don't.
Guys, I got a 3-week-old at home. Like the fact I'm here and just processing things right now is a win.
I'm not dogging on you for it. I'm just pointing it out. I can one up you though,
Okay.
because yesterday when I got home, I had my key break off in my door to my apartment, like a clean break when I went to turn it, and it didn't even unlock. It just broke off completely. So I had to go to the front office and be like, "Hey, I kind of have a maintenance emergency here."
Kinda. Tyler don't know his own strength. Look at that.
I guess so. I was like, "Dang, didn't know I was that good."
We got K-Hop on the line
We
here?
do have K-Hop on the line. I'll
Let's
stop
go.
bothering people with my key problems. K-Hop, Mrs. Hopkins, our Gamecock super fan. How we doing today?
Hey, great. How are y'all?
Doing wonderful.
So
Good.
I saw K-Hop last week at an event. She was having a blast as always, hanging out with Gamecock Nation. We were talking about doing this again and trying to make it work out. And I said, well, hey, you really don't have to drive all the way up here every time. We can just have you call in and bring us your joy from over the phone. And that's what we're going to do today. So, K-Hop, we appreciate you hopping on today. And got a lot of stuff we want to hit you with. But first of all, how have you been doing since we last had you on?
Right. A lot's been going on. I mean, and I love a call in. It does save me on the gas mileage, I mean, back and forth to Columbia and whatnot, but been doing good. Went to see Adam Sandler last night, so I was in Columbia last night.
Well, we were just
But-
talking about that. How was that, by the way?
Oh, it was so great. But Adam Sandler is like one of my favorites, and I would say seeing Adam Sandler sing Farley live is a top 10 moment of my life, I would say. It was just incredible and something I never thought would happen. I didn't think he would tour again, It was great. I love Adam Sandler. I love that. He had a bunch of his friends come out, too. It was a good show. About 3 hours, so definitely got our money's worth.
Wow, Miss Hopkins, what's going on? It's Jack here. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, Jack.
What's going on now? Look, we ask the important questions around here. I have
Okay.
to know, what are your top 3 Adam Sandler movies?
Top 3 Adam Sandler movies. Number 1, all the time, never without question, is the original Happy Gilmore. That's my go-to at all times. Just no questions asked on that. Also, I love Billy Madison because Farley is in it with him. And then my third one is going to be a real hard toss-up. Do love Waterboy. There was a lot of Bobby Boucher jerseys last night, but that's a really hard one. I like the grown-ups movies. You're putting me really on the spot here for number 3.
This is what we do.
I did like Happy Gilmore too, just because all the references back, but it's definitely not the OG Happy Gilmore. I might put Big Daddy in there.
That is a good one. That is an underrated one.
It's a hard choice to make because there's a lot of good options out there. But I'm glad you had a good time with that. I know you were also excited, and I mentioned this on Twitter the other day. Because of the weather delay, we got OG Cocky entrance this past Saturday against
Oh, my
SC
God, I was
State.
so excited. So excited. And
Good
I
call, Tyler.
personally feel like at this point, we're undefeated with Cocky coming out of the box. So why
point.
would we go back to the railroad? I mean, we should keep him and the shower curtain going strong. I feel really passionately about that, Tyler.
I know. That's why I mentioned it. I was like, oh, she's got to be thrilled seeing this. And again,
Thrilled.
I'm sure because the field was wet, you couldn't get the train out there, but you would happily take that every single time. Maybe you just,
Yeah,
maybe
and
you just need
we
to,
had it one time.
ma-
Yeah.
Maybe if the sprinklers just keep going off before the game and the field's too wet, we can just keep getting that every week.
Right, so if any grounds crew people are listening, hit me up. Let's talk about the water bill. We can figure that out in some kind of way. I mean, You know, it is good. At least once a year we should see that. I mean, it's tradition. It's you know, I feel strongly about things like moving the palmetto trees.
We do know you feel very strongly about that, but that is good. Passion is good. Passion is what makes college football what it is. And I am still trying to wrap my head around the fact that she was in Columbia last night, so she could have just come in the studio this morning. But that is okay.
I didn't spend the night. I'm at work. I'm at work. I was back at work at 6:30 this morning.
We have a nice couch in our lobby now. You could have just slept out there.
And you know what? That's an option moving forward. I like that. Thank you for the offering.
The lobby down here has been like super upgraded. So for real, you have to come by and check it out. It's pretty nice down here.
Yeah.
Podcast studio going in looks very, very good. But I think you actually you might have like stumbled upon a great idea there. Why not? I don't. It's just my guess. I don't think the train is going away when I'm sure that thing was expensive. And I don't know. I don't think you can resell it. Like you're kind of stuck with it.
You're telling me a Gamecock fan, or honestly, like you remember when the Marlins had that home run sculpture out in left center field, and they put it outside the stadium? Do the same exact thing. Just put the train on display. You can have all the kids stand on it and stuff.
Well, Jack, that actually might not be a bad idea either. You
Jack,
can auction
they can rent it
maybe
for
auction
birthday.
it off. Rent it for birthday. Okay, so maybe there are options here. But my thought was, okay, let's say that's not an option. We're not getting rid of it. Maybe just bust out the original cocky entrance once a year, maybe on homecoming or something. Yeah, there you go.
Every time, yes.
Homecoming.
I'm with that. I'm good with that. Like, I can mix the two. And let's be honest, it is cool when the celebrity starter gets to come out of the train.
The anticipation.
That's a cool new addition.
The anticipation of who the celebrity starter is before they pop out.
Yeah, that's a cool addition. Cool. Yes. But we could always throw back to our history. I mean, that's literally in what we talk about when we read our whole thing. You know, tradition originates from our core. So let's don't leave it where, let's not leave it hanging. We could bring it back for at least homecoming. Hashtag Donati, holla, let's go. And I wish we would bring the Forever to Thee banner back in the student section.
These are all great additions that we need back at Willie B. It sounds like we're going backwards in a lot of ways.
I think, and again, we're talking to our resident Gamecock superfan, Miss Hopkins, on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. We could have like a throwback night every single year. You wear the old school 80s jerseys. You do the OG cocky entrance. You can have the Forever to Thee and just pay tribute to all the history of things that you've done in the past. While, again, still having the other games where we have the new modern twist on these things.
Yeah, I mean, like the lights and all, we love that. Like, we don't need to necessarily do away with the other things, but let's still, I love that. That's a good idea. You know, they should just ask us about these things, really.
Now, let's not beat around the bush anymore. We got to talk about your thoughts from, when's the last time she was in here? Like, before last week's game?
Over the summer.
Oh, okay.
It's been a couple months.
It's been a while, yeah.
All right, so I need your thoughts, Miss Hopkins. What is the deal with South Carolina football right now? What are you thinking? How do you feel like the season's gone so far?
All right, so let's be honest. You know, I love to be positive, but also realistic. Like Home Alone, you be positive, I'll be realistic, right? You know? But at the same time, I think we have so much potential. You know, we cannot have that complaint about not having talent. We have talent. We have talent. We have great kids. We have great human beings on that team. And I feel like we're going to come together, and at the right time, it's going to start clicking on all cylinders. And if that's not Saturday, it's going to be bad. I mean, Vandy's coming in ready. They want that. And Pavi, I hope we can call him Pavi, like UGH after this week, and hopefully it's done. Our offensive line is got to come together, but there's other pieces of that too. Y'all know that. Folks running routes possibly not as perfectly as they should. You know, everybody has an answer. I obviously don't have all of them, but I have really high hopes for this team. And I think this week's going to be a real test. Like, we've got to come together this week to mesh and meld. I mean, South Carolina State, it was kind of like we went to the locker room and it took too long. Like, I don't know if we knew we were playing for the first half. That was questionable. You know, and maybe it was just like a warm-up. We're still out here warming up. I'm unsure. But we got to get it together. And you know how passionate I am about the big boys. I said over the last time I was so excited about our new center and everything. That's what I said the last time I was in there. So I feel like that's got to take a big big chunk. Like, he's got to step up and be a true leader out there on the line and get that going.
K-Hop, how long have you been working on that Pavia line, or did you just come up with that on the fly?
That's just off the cuff. Honestly, I don't know why I wasn't out there with Adam Sandler last night.
You weren't
that's a better question.
The special guest they bring up. They didn't bring you up there. You didn't open for him.
No.
Jack was loving your Home Alone line too. So he about fell out of the chair as
I can respect that. That is
resident
a great line.
Movie nerd over here.
Thank you.
But K-Hop, you were at the Old Dominion game to start last season when Carolina looked like they were going to win 2 games. So I think here's the thing. Yeah, they got to play a lot better, right? Like everybody can see that.
But they can.
Yes, and I don't think what the offense looked like in the first quarter is who they are. Now can they put it all together this quickly? You know, that's a question. Vandy's coming in. Vandy, I mean, frankly, to me, it's not even so much about South Carolina necessarily. It's the fact that I think Vandy's legitimately a good football team this year. Like
Agree.
They were good last year, and they've brought back obviously a lot of key pieces. They've went to the portal and added some key pieces. And, you know, yes, South Carolina's got to play better, but you have to play better because Vandy legitimately will come in here and beat you if you don't. So I think a lot of the conversation has been more people are kind of just down on South Carolina right now here in Columbia. The national guys, though, like if you listen to, you know, my guy Cole Kublik,
who's going to be here this weekend?
Yeah, I don't think they put much stock in these, like, out-of-conference FCS games.
I don't either.
Like, the fans get caught up in it, but, yeah, not to give them excuses, but you had a 2.5-hour rain delay. You had one less day of preparation because you played on Sunday the week before. And then when you didn't get off to a good start and you're backed up with terrible field position the first 3 drives of the game, it just felt like they started pressing a little bit on offense. So I think it just kind of snowballed. So the very first play of the game, they have Mazio Bennett wide open on a post for a touchdown. If Sellers sees him and hits that ball, we're having a completely different conversation. So I think they just were pressing. Obviously, I think you got to find a way to just get Lenoris settled in and get him rolling. And I think much like it snowballed in the negative direction, I feel like offensive rhythm is something where if you can establish it early, it can snowball in the other direction potentially.
Yeah, I mean, we're not down on the Cox. I mean, I fully think we can come together and do this. I also think that, I mean, we're not going to show everybody everything against South Carolina State. I mean, you're doing some things, and that's no disrespect to South Carolina State. You're doing some things. You're hoping dudes don't get hurt. You know, you got Vandy the next week. I mean, I just don't think that was a true representation of what we will be this year.
We'll have more with K-Hop as the Garnet Trust Tower presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating rolls along here on your Thursday on The Game.
All right, guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Krantz Cooling. I'm going to do what we call personalize this ad read because let me tell you right now, literally my AC at the house is out. And our friends at Krantz Cooling are taking care of it, much like they can do for you. KrantzCooling.com, 803-672-3224. I got to know my guy Thomas, who came out and looked at our unit earlier this week. Got to meet with some of their sales team, and guess what? It's time. We're getting a new unit put in. That's all going to go down on Friday, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to report back. It's been very smooth so far. They worked with me a little bit in terms of what my options were, what pricing I could kind of stomach and what I couldn't, and we got a great plan in place, and then I'm going to report back to you guys and let you know how it went. But if you need them, do what I do. Hit up our friends at Krantz Cooling, KrantzCooling.com.
Welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyrad, Wes Mitchell, Jack Belcher hanging out with you on your Thursday here on the game. Joining the AAA Heat and Air phone lines by our friend K-Hop as we talk all things Gamecock football. And at the end of the last hour, Jack and I were discussing Vakari Swain and the three-punt return touchdowns he's had so far this year. And the law of averages tell you that's sometimes maybe multiple years' worth of special team scores. But Jack set the line at 1.5. And I took over. I think there'll be at least 2 more special team scores this year. What do you think? Do you think we're going to see more of these special teams touchdowns this year?
Yes, agree.
Do you have
I agree. I think we will have more. Ooh. You went with 2 more?
I went with 2 more.
That's a solid. Gosh. Now, depending upon bowl game or whatnot, that adds a little more time.
Or a college or playoff run.
Yeah, or a little, run in the month of December and January.
Playoff run would add a couple of games. Yeah, playoff run. I'm going to go 3 solid scores. I'm going to do like Price is Right, just one up you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have 4? Anybody got 4?
I mean, the possibilities are endless here, guys.
Now, let me ask you one question, K-Hop. This is probably the most important question you will get asked today. And I saw this on
just downplaying our questions, but okay.
No.
I mean, right, and my students have lots of great questions.
Seriously,
right.
This may be the most important.
Think of the children, Jack.
I just hope it's not movie related.
F the children. No, it's not movie related. So, all right, how do I phrase this question? So, you have to give one thing for South Carolina to win a national championship. What is it you're giving up? What would you give up to see the Gamecocks win a national championship?
That is a good question.
In which sport?
Oh, I'm
Football.
sorry. Let me preface. In football.
I would give up Diet Dr. Pepper for that.
Oh, like for life.
Yeah. Yeah, I would.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would just bring that little bit of a sacrifice, if that would cause that to happen, for what it would bring to that, just like to the university, to our state. I mean, it's unfathomable what the ripple effect of that would have on our university and our state.
Now, you said Diet Dr. Pepper, right?
But that's her thing.
But like,
that's my thing. I drink it every day. I get one every morning from Chick-fil-A.
Would you still be able to drink regular Dr. Pepper?
But no, here, let me step in, Tyler.
Okay.
K-Hop, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like there's Dr. Pepper drinkers and there's Diet Dr. Pepper drinkers. There's really not a lot of these are 2 separate circles. Like there's no Venn diagram here. Like
I mean, Diet Dr. Pepper is very good.
Yeah, I don't drink Dr. Pepper at all. No, and we're talking about like I go to Chick-fil-A every day, $2.89. CFA, Diet Dr. Pepper large every morning. It's waiting for me.
We know the price, too.
That's what I do. Yeah. I mean, I do that every single day of my life.
Okay.
And I would give that up, except Sundays, obviously.
So
then I have to drink from the can.
I understand the importance. Now, is it only, you won't get it from anywhere else? Is it only theirs?
No, I will. I mean, that is my drink of choice.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I drink all day. And sometimes I'll take a sip of water when I take my medicine in the morning. But other than that, it's DDP all day. That's a big sacrifice.
You're telling me you don't have like a DDP like on standby in your nightstand or something, middle of the night? Like you need something to drink?
Oh, I have it everywhere. That's what I'm saying. This is a huge sacrifice.
All right,
like,
so I'm understanding the importance of this now.
This is huge.
Yes, Tyler, let's catch up. Like this is a big deal. Like, but think about how great that will be. I mean, look at Coastal. Look at what their baseball program has done for their university and their enrollment, and just like, I mean, so much for them as a university, not just the athletics program. And can you imagine what that would do for us? I mean, we know what it did and what it has done for baseball and basketball and everything else. Can you imagine what it would do with football? 1-1.
Yeah, it would be special. I mean, no doubt. It would. I
got cold chills just talking about it, and I mean, like, it's just crazy because it then brings so much awareness that then your academics and all the other things you do. Well, I mean, it would behoove everything if we won a national championship in football.
For sure. Now, hey, I know you were at Williams-Brice Stadium this past weekend. You'll be back, I'm sure, this Saturday. I know that the palmetto tree is being moved, and then the field having the advertisement on it was a big kind of divisive topic among the fan base. Zach Freyse got a shout out. I saw for the job
he did. He did great.
designing the entire thing. Justin King gave him a really, really cool shout out on social media. But once you saw the Garnet end zones, and then that they at least were, still including the Palmetto Tree logos, what did you think of how Willie B looked in person after kind of all the discussion about it leading up to Saturday?
I think it's incredible. I said on Twitter, I said, like, people acted like I didn't understand what money meant to a university or an athletic program. Truly, yes, we all know that, and we know that that's the name of the game. I mean, Jerry Jones taught a course in it in the NFL, and now that's coming to college, and we've got to do that. But the part of the Palmetto Trees, I think, just reminds us so much of not just our university and that it's the state university, but as our state and the history as a whole. And, moving it, I'm fine with moving it. It just needed to be included, I think. And I think they did a fantastic job. Zach did a great job. And then, you're right, Justin, he deserved that shout-out because I think the stadium looks great. The new additions are great. I think we are doing a better job of trying to preserve and mix our history and tradition with moving forward with the landscape of college football. I think they did a great job.
So got one victory out of the way at home so far this year. Huge game coming up this weekend. And, again, a lot of trash talk. Pavia been talking. His offensive line's been talking. Clark Lees even said this was a game that kind of broke their team last year in a way. What happens on Saturday night?
I think we pull away with a win, but it's going to be close, and it's going to be late when we when we solidify the win. I think it'll be a real close game. It's going to be a real physical game. I really hope that Dylan Stewart's Dylan Stewart. Dylan Stewart's going to play because Dylan Stewart's that guy. He doesn't need some offensive lineman to talk trash for him to get pumped up. That's not the kind of player he is. He wouldn't be Dylan Stewart if that's what he needed. So I think he will show up and do a great job. But I think it'll be a tough, physical game. I think we're going to have to fire on all cylinders. Defense, I'd love to see a defensive score this weekend. # Coach White, get it going. But it's going to be tight, and we will solidify it late in the game. And we will be on pins and needles, but it'll be one that we will all remember.
We have a final score thought?
27-24.
Okay. That was like last-second field goal. William Joyce. What's the end sequence here?
I can see a late field goal bringing us back to really trusting in the field goal unit as a whole. I think that'd be good. And I think that it will be one where we're biting our nails and then it goes through and then it's a crazy time. Okay. And nothing's better than Willie B with a late-night victory. Y'all know that. There's no better place to be.
Well, hopefully it's not as late as last week and we can kick this thing off properly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting too old for this late-night shenanigans.
Okay. K-Up, we appreciate your passion as always, and we'll get you back in here once again or back on the phone lines, and hopefully we got more fun football to talk about.
Fantastic. Go Cox. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Again, our friend K-Hop there joining us on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. We'll come back. Clemson's got a pretty interesting game this weekend. We'll dive into what's been going on with the Tigers these first couple weeks as the Garnet Trust Hour, presented by Krantz Schooling and Heating, rolls along on your Thursday on the game.
All right, guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Classic Roofing. Check out more information, classicroofingsc.com, or go ahead if you need them right now. Call them, 803-590-7870. Like I always tell you, taking care of that roof, if you own a home or business, it can be difficult. It is one of course, the most important parts of your home or business. It can be difficult, but our friends at Classic Roofing are going to make it very, very easy on you. And the way they're going to do that is if you go to that website, look at the top right-hand corner, hit that free estimate button. Go ahead, let's set something up. Let's be aggressive about this. Let's let them come out and check out that roof and make sure you have that peace of mind for the future of that roof to make sure that there are no issues right now, there are no issues in the future, and most importantly, what does the life of this roof look like? Because that can let you go ahead and make big plans for it moving forward, just like we did at our home here in Columbia. 803-590-7870 or classicroofingsc.com.
Welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Ed, Jack Belcher, Wes Mitchell along with you here on your Thursday on the game, getting you set for another full weekend of college football. Week number 3 is a lot of teams will start finally playing some conference games. Carolina taking on Vanderbilt in the upstate. You'll have, well, not in the upstate, but the team from the upstate, Clemson, will be traveling down to Atlanta to take on Georgia Tech, and a game that's not going to be easy by any means. We haven't gotten to talk a lot about Clemson through these first couple weeks, but definitely not the start of the season I think a lot of people expected. And look, losing to LSU, there's no shame in that. They're a very good team and could end up being, a true national championship contender as this year goes along. But their inability to run the ball, kind of getting, dominated in the second half of that game, and then to come out and look ugly in their first half against Troy. And I get it, they had some weather delays and stuff like that, but I think a lot of people, including myself, thought very highly of Clemson coming into this year, and we have not quite seen that team live up to it just yet.
Yeah, no, you're right. This was kind of circled, Georgia Tech Clemson, as being preseason, like a potentially really big game for both programs, obviously, and a chance maybe for Georgia Tech to take another step forward. Now, is Haynes King playing in this game? It kind of seems like it's trending towards he could play, right?
He is practicing this week. They've not given a firm yes or no. They could play 2 quarterbacks this weekend, but knowing him, he's going to try like heck to play.
Yeah, and that obviously, man, is going to be massive in terms of whether Georgia Tech will actually have a shot at this thing. What was up with Brent Key's press conference? Did y'all see this? Like, my man is from one press conference to the next, happy-go-lucky, goofing off, basically, kind of out there a little bit. And then the Clemson press conference, I mean, he was given like 5-word answers. Dabo went for like 40 minutes or more, I think. Brent Key literally went like 6 minutes or something, I think. Just was not giving anybody anything. It was kind of strange. I don't know. We'll see, man. King has not only have to play, but he's got to be healthy for, like, he's got to, like, be close to 100% for them to have a chance to win this game. But, yeah, Tyler, to your point, man, running game for Clemson, just not good. I think the fact that you're the Clemson Tigers, the last decade, you have had recruiting advantages unlike about anybody else out there in terms of what your on-field product has been. And the fact that you're having to move a wide receiver to running back this offseason to fill that hole, that's rough, man. Like, that's bad. Like, you should not be in that situation if you're Clemson. The fact that they hit the portal a little bit this offseason, but you really have not said, hey, we're going to fill in our holes clearly enough with the portal. That's tough, man. They're kind of feeling it right now. But if it maybe makes people feel a little bit better about South Carolina's performance this past weekend, look at the way a lot of these other teams who are playing quote-unquote lesser opponents, many of them dealing with the same weather-related delays as South Carolina. I mean, South Carolina comes out, starts slow on offense. Clemson comes out, starts slow on offense against Troy. Georgia comes out and just kind of has just a blah, workman-like win themselves. LSU was favored by 30-plus in their game, and I think scored 23-24 in the game itself. Mm-hmm. So you're not the only program that just came out and kind of sleptwalk through a win on offense. So I think that's good context and good perspective to have if you're South Carolina. But getting back to what Tyler originally asked about, huge game for Clemson really to try to get on track this week.
And it's going to be tough because they're going to Atlanta, noon kick. I expect it to be – I think Georgia Tech is doing a whiteout for this game. So it's going to be pretty loud out there, out in Atlanta at Bobby Dodd. But, yeah, I mean, look, Clemson's got its share of issues. And it looks like Haynes King – is on the right track. Brent Key did say he looks good, feels good. They'll make a determination this weekend. I think he's going to play. But if he plays, is he 100%? I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens with that. I think this game really does lean in Tech's favor. I mean, look, they're also playing pretty well to start the year. And you mentioned it, Wes. I mean, Clemson does not have a run game right now. I mean, Adam Randall is their lead back, 128 yards on the ground. They don't have a single rusher, wide receiver, quarterback, running back, whoever, more than 8 yards. So that's their next 2 leading rushers are also wide receivers with TJ Moore and Tyler Brown. So they have no production really at running back, and that makes it tougher when it'd be one thing if Klubnik was looking like this all-world quarterback, you know, the Heisman talk and all that, but he's looked average at best. He's looked very much not invincible. So looking to see what Georgia Tech's defense can do about this Clemson offense that's really sputtering right now.
And one thing that both teams that they've played so far this year, and LSU and Troy have done so far, is really bringing a lot of heat to Cade Klubnik. I saw this stat yesterday. He's getting blitzed about 60% of the time, and they were having trouble protecting him. And we thought that offensive line was going to be one of the better units, maybe in the entire country, given the experience they had coming back as well as elsewhere on that team. And it's been kind of a mixed bag so far. So Klubnik's under pressure. He's been making some bad decisions. I know he had, a tip ball that got intercepted last week, by Troy. But, everybody kind of out of the gate, just looking a little bit shaky up there. And, again, I was thinking pretty highly of this team going into the year, and I haven't quite seen that out of them just yet.
O-line is just it's a weird thing, man. It's kind of a living, breathing organism almost. And can you get those 5 guys all moving in unison together, and can they gel together? And I know that it is a little bit of a cliche there, but in terms of just trying to hit the ground running on the offensive line may be one of the toughest things to do in football at the beginning of a year, particularly if you are replacing a guy or two. I know Clemson, on paper, though, felt really, really good, it seemed like, about that group. And on paper, frankly, felt good about this entire roster, because you were looking, you maybe didn't say Clemson had more upside than anybody in the country, but I think a lot of people felt like Clemson had maybe fewer holes than about everybody in the country coming into this year. So they have not played up to that yet, but here's the thing, guys. Here's the reality of it. They don't have to. They don't have to play up to their standard yet. All they have to do is avoid disaster, and they can actually have disaster a couple of games. As long as you get to the ACC championship and win the thing, you're still going to the playoff. For Clemson, it's all about getting to the point where they're playing their best ball at the end of the year. So you can panic, and I'm sure their fans were. I knew Troy had no shot in that game when they mismanaged the end of the first half situation. Troy had a chance to actually make this thing truly interesting and possibly beat Clemson, I feel like. And they had a shot at points at the end of the half, and they completely mismanaged the clock. And then you have a big turnover to start the second half. And at that point, we've watched enough ball. You're like, okay, Clemson's going to win. It's not going to be pretty, but they're going to win this game. And so, you survived if you're Clemson. Big game this weekend, but I'm sure our friends at Tiger Illustrated, the fans on there, are going nuts right now. But you still are probably going to make the playoff.
Hold on, friends at Tiger Illustrated? We're friends?
Our friends at Tiger Illustrated.
I guess we're friends.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the people that run TI. You're not friends with.
I don't know any of them. I haven't met any of them.
You have a problem with them?
Say rivalry has to run through all facets.
Yeah, exactly.
Even for journalists. By the way, I can't watch this game Saturday because I'm not allowed to go either way here, Clemson or Georgia Tech. So I just hope they both lose.
There's one guarantee I can make this week, and that is that's not going to happen.
I know that's not going to happen, but if I don't know, maybe a meteor can hit the stadium and
make sure neither of them have fun.
Exactly. I hope both teams have a terrible time. That's my hope this weekend. Nerds.
Yeah, give them like 8 overtimes or something.
Nerds and taters. That's what this game is.
Yeah.
So I haven't reminded everybody in a long time, but Tyler's a Georgia fan.
I think everybody's well aware of that by now. Wes.
He is?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he is.
Alumni.
Alumni. What's the level of hatred for Georgia Tech?
What's the highest I can go?
Oh, so it's like that bad.
Wait, really? Yeah. Tyler, why do y'all? They don't even.
They're the rival.
Yeah, but they don't even press y'all. You know what I'm saying?
They don't. And look, I would say Florida.
They should have beat y'all last year, and they still did.
Florida's a bigger rival than Tech is, but that doesn't mean my hatred for Tech is like wavered. Yeah, they're like the little brother of this rivalry, but still, I hate them with a burning passion.
I'm going to ask you the question, Tyler, that I asked K-Hop earlier. What's one thing you would give up to see Georgia win?
But they've already won multiples.
I've already seen it, though.
Yeah? No,
it doesn't work for him.
It doesn't have the same effect.
You don't want another one?
I mean, I'd love to have
it. It doesn't work for him,
but
though.
it doesn't. It's not the same of like asking someone that's never seen it before. You know what I mean?
What would we give up to see South Carolina win a national championship?
I don't know.
No?
I don't know.
We did once ask at my old radio station. We did like a Twitter thing. Because I don't remember how it got brought up, but we asked the question to our audience, would you take a non-lethal gunshot wound to the thigh if it meant your team won the national championship? And a lot of people said yes. I don't know if you'd be willing to go that far.
No, I don't think so. I would be like K-Hop. I would give up. I'm a huge Diet Pepsi drinker. I would give up Diet Pepsi. Well, I mean, I'm not a Carolina fan, so like, I would do it for a Yankees World Series championship.
But you've already
No, I don't remember it though. I was 9 years old when they won, so
but still,
I'm dying to see one. Which
All
I
right.
don't think it's gonna happen.
You're a Diet Pepsi. To what degree?
Like my fridge is stocked, but like I'll have like one with like a meal. You know, like I try not to drink more than 2 a day. But like,
Okay.
yeah, like it's always something I have.
okay.
So, but I drink a lot of water. You got to mix in a water, like our former colleague Mike Uva. would
Now,
say.
is there a difference between diet and zero sugar Pepsi? Are they the same?
No, there's not really a big difference there. But I will say there's a difference between Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi. Diet Coke gets flat so quick.
Okay.
But then Diet Pepsi, I feel like you can have it through like 45 minutes and still very, very good.
Okay. Well, we have a thorough soda breakdown then. I bring up this game between Georgia Tech and Clemson because I think we can draw some interesting comparisons between Diego Pavia and Haynes King, and I want to talk about that next to wrap up the hour. It is the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating here on the game. Welcome back in. It is the Orange Chest Hour, presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler, Jack, and Wes along with you here on your Thursday on the game. Reminder tonight, Carolina calls at 7 o'clock. Coach Beamer and Todd Ellis hanging out over at Backstreet's Grill. Coach Beamer will give us final thoughts ahead of Saturday's matchup against Vanderbilt. Again, you listen to that 7 o'clock right here on the game. We were just talking about Clemson taking on Georgia Tech this weekend. Obviously, going to be a tough game. I did see where Brent Key mentioned they could play two quarterbacks. You know, if Haynes King is 100%, him and then Aaron Philo, who started the game last weekend for them against Gardner Webb and did a pretty good job in that start there. So we'll kind of see what happens when that game rolls around on Saturday at noon. But it's interesting because, you know, I think Haynes King and Diego Pavia are similar in a lot of ways in terms of what they mean to their individual teams. And I think those are two guys that we don't look at as like, okay, this guy's going to have a great career at the next level, but they are very good college quarterbacks within the system that they play. And in terms of the mentality that they play with, the aggressiveness that they play with, I'd argue there may not be two more important quarterbacks to their individual team's success than what you have with Pavia and King right now at their current schools.
Yeah, no, these guys are massive for what these programs have done. Like, think about it. Like, if there's no Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt, I think they're a completely different team right now. And not just based on the way he's played, because he's been playing great for Vanderbilt over this season and last year, but the mindset he has of, you know, saying publicly that Vanderbilt's going to win a national championship and he's going to change the culture and all this and that, like, takes a lot of guts to say stuff like that publicly on air. And then, you know, his coaches, obviously, Clark Lee has that same sort of confidence too. It rubs off on the team in a lot of ways. And then Haynes King, I mean, you want to talk about one of the tougher guys in college football, I think it's him. Like, you cannot take him out of a game with the way, if he gets drilled, he's still sticking in there. Like, that toughness also, I feel like, rubs off. And it may sound cliche and all this stuff, but, again, these guys are so vital beyond just the numbers of what they do for these teams.
Guys, I think you have to have a certain edge considering that you're at two programs that have not had the historical success of a lot of programs. And it's one thing to go in there and be the brash, confident quarterback at a place where you have all these built-in advantages around you. It's completely different to, one, be brash and not go out there and just get immediately humbled. You back it up with your play on the field. But then, two, to be able to elevate everybody around you, to be able to, like, basically stare into your opponents there and say, we can play with these guys. And, you know, I think Pavia, like, is his stuff over the top? Absolutely. Like, some of the comments in the offseason, like, you know, our goal is a national championship. Vanderbilt is not winning the national championship this year. It's not happening. But for that to be your goal, to that be your thought, and I think he truly believes it. Mm-hmm. You got to have a little bit of that, just that crazy, basically.
Yeah, I have to.
And guys will ride with that, man. Like, they will ride behind both these guys. And so for them to be able to elevate the talent around them and get these marquee wins for these two programs that have not had a ton of those lately before that, impressive. I mean, there are some parallels to what Connor Shaw did at quarterback for South Carolina, just kind of being, you're not an NFL prospect necessarily. Like, you're not big enough that you don't have a strong enough arm where the NFL teams are saying, hey, you're a first or second round pick, but you are that just gritty, determined. You have the run game element as well from the quarterback position. Like, these guys are probably two of the most difficult players in the country to prepare for if you are a defensive coaching staff.
No, most definitely. So, hold on. You're just saying Vanderbilt's done, though. Like, they're not winning a national championship this year?
No.
No? Wow. That's
Are you going to make that your hot take for today that they are?
Oh, God.
Nope.
Sound the alarm, Tyler.
You've just you've added to Diego Pavia's list of motivating tactics for this weekend.
But no. They're the ones creating the motivating.
They are, but
it's not. Nobody has. I mean, Beamer basically hyped Pavia up to be the best quarterback on the planet.
Yeah,
on purpose. I'm sure on Tuesday.
Oh, totally. You don't want to ruffle any feathers.
But Vandy has been feather ruffling.
They have
this
been
week.
talking so much trash this week. Like, it's like, did you see the? I know Tyler and I have talked. Did you see the clip yesterday of Theo Vaughn and I Show Speed and all that?
I didn't see it. I saw the headline.
Yeah, so that's all you need to know.
He told him that Carolina was in the way of the mission, which that mission is, of course, a national championship. Because Speed's like, why are we hating on Carolina? He's like, because they're in the way of the mission.
And he's dead serious about it too.
But that's the thing. I can respect the mindset. It makes sense.
That's the thing about Pavia is that even he may think deep down it's like he can't take himself serious saying this stuff, but the way it comes out,
no, I agree with Wes.
It's completely serious.
I think he fully believes it.
Yeah.
Like, again, if you go out there thinking somebody's better than you, you've already lost. So
that's a good point.
Go out there and think you're the baddest bleeper on the planet.
He'll be a pretty good motivational speaker when his career is over after this year. So
maybe so. It's gonna be a challenge on Saturday no matter what. We'll get back into this game as well as the availability report coming up next as we kick off hour number 3, Garnet Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game.
All right, folks, before we get to the Gamecock Central Takeover, let me tell you about our friends at Integrated Media, integratedmediainc.com, and 803-948-8327. Another big football weekend is ahead, and, of course, you want to be ready for it. You want to be prepared for it. Let's go ahead. Let's upgrade that man cave right now. Let's upgrade the football viewing experience in your living room by hitting up Integrated Media. That could be as simple as maybe hanging the TV, hiding the wires, going with some surround sound, and going with a super clean, professional look. Or you could go full-on home theater system or man cave with all the bells and whistles. But the best part is you can design it, you can dream it up, and then they're going to take it and they're going to make it a reality for you. Like I said, integratedmediainc.com is that website. If you go on there, you can get a complete list of all of their services, all about them, and a gallery of some of the great things they've done at houses around the Midlands, just like mine. Hit them up today, our friends at Integrated Media.
11 o'clock Thursday morning, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West Chris along with you here on the game, getting you closer to Carolina's SEC opener against Vanderbilt coming up on Saturday night. A lot of not necessarily back and forth. We were just talking about in the last hour, Chris, but this game really important to Vanderbilt. They were hyping this up, putting it up as one of the most important games of their season. Game 3, as Diego Pavia said months ago on the Buses with the Boy podcast. This one means a lot to them. They're going to come in here fired up and motivated Saturday night, it looks like.
Do you think it's as big of a Super Bowl as the bowl game was for Illinois?
Ooh. Good
Greatest
question.
win in program history.
Yeah.
Or the Tennessee-South Carolina game 2 seasons ago.
Yes. Well, I mean, our
By
guy.
the way, Connor Stallions finally cleared Carolina of, any accusations from that game.
Did
last
on three-
week.
I'm talking about the one after that game because remember
One after.
the revenge game.
The revenge.
Oh, the revenge game. Okay,
Yeah, that was
23.
That was Super Bowl for Tennessee.
That was Super Bowl for Tennessee. Okay, I got you.
Hey, that says something, right? If South Carolina's people's Super Bowl,
You must be doing something
you're
right.
doing something right. But, yeah, I mean, I like the way that our guy Chris Lee from VandySports.com put it yesterday when we talked to him. When you look at the schedule this year for Vandy, I mean, they played Charleston Southern, won that resoundingly. They were down 20-10 at the half against Virginia Tech and Blacksburg and just completely blew their doors off, ran them out of their own building in the second half. They've got this game against Carolina. Then they've got Georgia State and Utah State before they get into conference play. And their conference slate, I mean, you could say this about everybody, but it's challenging, right? They go to Bama. That'll be a revenge game for Bama. They play LSU. They play Missouri. They go at Texas. They were very close last year in the Texas game. Then they've got Auburn, Kentucky at home, and then at Tennessee. So, guys, y'all can imagine. This is weird to say. You can imagine a world where Vandy could get through the conference slate and make some noise. I mean, you really can envision it. But what Chris told us yesterday, and I wholeheartedly agree, I don't think anybody knows that program better than him over the years. If they're going to have the season that Pavia's talking about, that Clark Lee's talked about for years, and take that next step, this is a game they really need. Nowadays, it's hard to say you have to have a game. They could lose the South Carolina game and go on, a magical run. But if you're kind of trying to break down the schedule, it's hard. It'd be hard to pick Vandy to go to Bama and win. It's possible, for sure. It's hard to pick them to go to Texas and win. A lot of these other games, you might even pick Vandy, or you can certainly talk yourself into it. But this one's big, and I don't think it's just for whatever reason, Pavia has this thing circled. I think that's just the kind of guy he is. That was their worst game last year. It's one they felt like they should have performed better. They feel like maybe they're better situated this year. It's on the road. That's how he operates. That's his mindset. But if they can get this one, you could see them being 5-0 going into the Bama game in Tuscaloosa. And you don't have to have this one, but I think you need this one to have the season that you want.
Sure.
Well, and from a South Carolina perspective, not exactly the same, but there are some similarities here.
Oh, yeah.
If you start looking at this from a big picture schedule standpoint, and that can be dangerous, honestly. We can sit here and start picking out wins and losses, and it gets flipped on its head. Speaking of Tennessee and that game, the one before the revenge game, I'll never forget. I will always recall those 2 weeks in my head to remind myself every single time, the second we think we have something figured out when it comes to the game of football, that you don't. And we all freak out from week to week with the good and the bad and the ugly and think, well, hey, what's happening now is going to apply to next week. It doesn't. South Carolina, if you were looking at that thing by the schedule and, well, hey, if you win this, you can get to this win total. If you lose that, you can't. They were staring 6-6 in the face and had their worst game of the year at Florida. Come back the next week, you beat Tennessee, then you beat Clemson to finish the season. And it basically goes from, just the most blah season you can possibly imagine to being one of the most special finishes you could possibly imagine. So that said, though, if you start looking at this schedule, I've looked at this thing in terms of the first 5 games. the entire lead up to the season. And that's because the first 5 games of your South Carolina are manageable. Doesn't mean they're easy, but they're manageable. I was circling at Missouri, which is next week for South Carolina, as maybe that's the difference between potentially going into that big stretch after that at 5-0 versus 4-1. Well, let's circle this week's game, because if you beat Vandy, you're 3-0. You have Kentucky coming up the week after that Missouri game. No offense to Kentucky, but in terms of the other SEC schools you're going to play, that's at home. That's the easiest game on the schedule in terms of SEC games.
So no disrespect intended.
No, I mean, no disrespect, but no respect either. Just neutral statement.
Okay, neutral.
Neutral amount of respect.
Yes. It's just a fact at this point.
Yes.
And so we know Missouri gives South Carolina fits.
Oh, yeah.
And it's at Missouri. So the difference between being 3-0 and going to that game, you still need to beat Missouri from a big picture standpoint, but it's not really like the must-win game it would be if you were sitting there starting SEC play 0-1 and staring at 0-2. You see what I mean? So if you really start to kind of look ahead and kind of look at it from the context of this schedule, being 3-0 overall and 1-0 in SEC play by holding serve and taking care of business at home when you look at what is ahead is, point being, it is massive for both of these programs right now.
And it's going to be massive for South Carolina to have all of their playmakers out there this weekend as well. Last night, we got the first availability report of the season. Of course, that's only going to be in conference games. And we're going to get a couple of these leading up to kickoff coming up on Saturday. But coming off of the weekend that was against South Carolina State, a lot of guys banged up. Beamer was very concerned after the game on Saturday about where these guys would be. And as of last night, you have the doubtfuls of Judge Collier and Brady Hunt, and the probables of Bakari Swain, Brandon Cisse, and Jaquel Holman. I kind of read probable as, okay, these guys got a pretty good chance of playing, and, maybe, they might be feeling a little off on warm-ups on Saturday and something can happen there. But until proven otherwise, you're going to assume those guys are going to play, but doubtful is a lot more concerning. And now you're talking about one of your starting corners and they mix in a lot of tight ends, but your lead tight end in Brady Hunt, from what you've seen through the first couple games of the year, likely not going to be available this weekend.
I would say, guys, all things considered, actually a pretty positive injury report, given how guys were just dropping left and right Saturday against SC State. One of the best parts for South Carolina about this availability report is the guys that aren't on it, which means you're assuming they will be available. And you look at Jalen Kilgore, who missed the SC State game completely. You look at JT Gear, who missed the SC State game completely. You look at Josiah Thompson, your starting left tackle, who had to exit the game early. The fact all those guys are not on this list, huge positive. And then, like Tyler said, the fact that Swain, Cisse, Holman, certainly those first two will play a major role on Saturday if they are able to play. And certainly with Judge possibly being down again, they will play maybe an even bigger role, you would say. So hate that for Brady Hunt, that it sounds like right now he maybe won't be available. Beamer seemed concerned about him. Maybe, Chris, a small thread of optimism in there that it's doubtful as opposed to just out.
Yeah.
Context of that, though, is it is Wednesday. Maybe you don't really want to just rule out anybody at this point. But by the definition, probable basically means 75% chance you're playing. I know that's an oversimplification, but doubtful, 25% chance you're playing, give or take. So not the worst it could be, frankly.
Yeah, it could definitely be worse. If you would have gotten there's a questionable too, right?
There is.
I have a questionable
That's 50-50.
category. That's each one add 25%.
I think that's literally the definition.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you would have felt a little worse about it, a little uneasy if you got a whole bunch of questionables on here. Every game this year you need, I keep saying, breaking record alert, you need your horses. You'd love to have Brady with how important he is to this offense and what they do. Kind of goes, I think, underrated how important he is to the offense. And Judge Collier, I mean, is one of your top cover guys, one of your leaders on this defense, a guy who I think has a good chance to go play in the league next year if this year goes how, we all think. I mean, he's picked up some buzz on that front. So the fact that you're probably not going to have those guys, that does hurt, right? But this thing could have been a lot worse. And my question is, for the guys that are probable right now, what percentage is it that they play? Because like you said, Wes, 75% or more, but what percentage are they when they're in the game? Do you have any pitch counts? In this case, snap count. Do you have to limit them a little bit? Are they a little banged up? Do they have some issues that prevent them from moving and doing the things that they would typically do when they're 100%? That counts too. It's not just about who's out there. It's how healthy are they. It's a good thing you're going to have them at all, but I think just while you're watching the game, just something to monitor, something to watch.
Well, and I think it's interesting as well, considering the fact that it looks like Judge Collier is, not going to be one of your options for this weekend of, Vakari Swain, we obviously know what he's done returning punts, which is great, and you want to see him continue to do that, but how much of a factor could he play in the secondary if he's filling that spot, for Judge Collier at some point this weekend, or is it a pitch count thing where you say, okay, we like what he's doing on punt return, so we'll just kind of keep him limited to that and let Miles Norwood handle that other spot? Like, there's a lot to manage here in terms of what you're plugging in with likely not having one of your starting cornerbacks available Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think, how many punt returns are you going to get in a game? I think you got to play Swain at corner. Like, if he's good to go, if he's healthy, I think he's going to be out there a ton at corner, like he has been until he got banged up the first 2 games. And really, it has been huge for South Carolina that you did have a guy like Swain who went through some things in the spring. Frankly, was not with the team in the spring. And for him to be back on the roster and not even be a quote-unquote starter to start the year, to go out and get Miles Norwood out of the portal when maybe on paper even you're saying, hey, corner not maybe the biggest need this offseason for, to kind of have the foresight of going out, obviously keeping Swain and getting him back on the roster, but adding Norwood has been really massive. And, I think Cisse, you're probably going to be at a point where, to Chris's point, even if they're not on pitch counts, I think you're going to be a little bit more deliberate about how do you use Cisse, how do you use Kilgore, how do those two things mesh together, considering that Cisse can play nickel or corner. Do you kind of split the difference and just say, hey, we're not going to play Cisse at corner and nickel and kind of have him play in the entire game? Do you just say, hey, you're both nickel backs this game, and just split them 50-50? Maybe you can kind of manage it by creating less wear on both those guys. I think you have some options there because of the versatility in that room. And then, just having Swain and I think Norwood's played well, man, for a newcomer. So it's not ideal to have all those guys dealing with injuries, but I think it is manageable.
Yeah, and I think that's why, to your point, Cisse and Norwood, big gets from the portal in the offseason. Cisse is a guy that we came in, this guy could start somewhere regardless, right? But now if they came in with more depth than they've had in a while at nickel and corner, here's where you need it. You got 3 guys from that list that are on the injury report, and another one that is not, who was. And so you always want to have your depth to have depth in the game, not to dip into it, but this is when it becomes so good to have those guys who can be starter caliber for you, to where, look, if you've got all of them available, you figure it out, you rotate. And we saw some of that in game 1, but very quickly we saw them needing to dip into that depth and change some things around. So having Norwood out there, having a guy like Cisse who's a starter caliber guy, probably a future pro, who can go play either position interchangeably and go play it well for you, very important.
We'll take a rewind look at last year's game on the road in Nashville and see what went down there as we get you set for South Carolina and Vanderbilt coming up Saturday night. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game.
just hurting ourselves here today.
Yeah,
More than Vanderbilt hurting us.
You could feel that in the frustration of Shane Beamer. Here's Sellers. He wants to go to work again, try to throw the football. He's in trouble. He escapes. Got some blockers out in front of him, still rolling left side. Way down the field, got a man wide open, caught the 50, and cutting back. That's Jared Brown, and Jared goes all the way down to the Vanderbilt 32-yard line. He gets a clap from Shane Beamer, runs down the sidelines, and again, Superman comes out of the booth in Lenora Sellers and makes a brilliant play down the field, a 51-yard gain to Jared Brown.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris with you on your Thursday here on the game. That was called last year in Nashville of that memorable 51-yard pass from Lenora Sellers to Jared Brown after something we saw many times last year. Lenora Sellers had to escape pressure that was right into his face, somehow got out of what a would-be sack right there on the goal line, uncorked a great pass that Jared Brown caught that really flipped the field position and helped South Carolina pick up the 28-7 win against Vanderbilt last year. The worst loss Vanderbilt had on the season a year ago, and obviously a game where they are going to be looking to make their revenge, but Carolina went in there and was able to handle business last year.
Yeah, that play is not really mentioned a ton, I feel like, as one of the huge plays Sellers made last year. But that was an amazing play for him to escape the way he did. And, you know, it was kind of a weird game with Vandy last year. I think it was 7-0 South Carolina at the half. Part of the reason why it was is that Vandy, a team that really does not turn the football over much, there was a strip sack of Pavia when Vanderbilt was driving early in the game. And if you kind of look at the way the game actually played out, it could have, should have, would have been closer down the stretch than it was. It was kind of one of those weird games where now, and I was at this game. I went and just experienced Nashville and watched from the stands. It really felt like, to me, South Carolina was the better team the entire game, and it felt like South Carolina was in control the entire game. But then you're looking at the score, and you're like 7-0. Like this is how Vandy has beaten teams, right? Hang around. And that play right there coming out, I believe that was coming out into the second half, and Vandy goes from thinking they have a sack and a huge play to push South Carolina back to basically South Carolina's about to score and go up by 2 touchdowns. Then you had, I believe, the big exclamation point put away score was Rocket Sanders on the big screenplay in the second half. But, you know, guys, my biggest concern if you're South Carolina right now, Vanderbilt will shorten these games. Like, that's what they did when they beat teams last year. You have not been efficient on offense at what's one thing that the phrase you keep hearing Shane Beamer say, you heard Mike Shula say it, got to stay on the field. Got to stay on the field. Now, there's a lot of different things that go into your ability to stay on the field when you're talking about execution. But what you're breaking that down to is third down conversions. Are you making first downs, or is all of your offense coming from big plays? And for South Carolina, through 2 games, they have not been able to just stay on the field. Vanderbilt is a stay-on-the-field offense. You will look up. If you don't take advantage of your offensive opportunities, you will look up, and it'll be 7 minutes to go in the first half, and you will feel like South Carolina has touched the ball twice. Mm-hmm. Then you get into the second. You ever have that moment where you look up, and there's 6 minutes to go in the third quarter in the game, and you're kind of like, it's starting to get late early. That's what playing Vandy is like. Stay on the field, annoy you, and shorten the game. They force you to be more efficient. From a matchup standpoint, from a game flow standpoint, that is the biggest concern, I think, for South Carolina. My biggest key to the entire football game, third down efficiency for South Carolina's offense on Saturday.
Nice key. Like it. I think, I go to, man, guys, every week you could say turnovers are a key to the game. You could do the stop the run the ball, don't turn the ball over. But look at last week. Okay, why was Vandy down to Virginia Tech in the first half? And why did they turn it on so well in the second half? It's not like they didn't move the ball first half, but their first 3 drives went, and I can't remember if it was necessarily in this order, but it was interception, touchdown, I think, some kind of score, touchdown, fumble. So, and I might have mixed them up. Maybe it's fumble, touchdown, interception, but Pavia threw a bad ball, and I think their running back fumbled. That was the difference. Gave up some points, defensively. Second half, they gave up no points, and they scored every drive. They didn't punt, So, to your point, Wes, they were able to extend drives. They hit some big plays. They've got some guys. Vanderbilt, Wes is 100% right. But I don't want to give the impression either that this is just like a ball control. They do that. But they have, Diego Pavia is one of the top playmakers in college football. Watch the guy play. He makes plays. It's not like Lenore Sellers in play style, but he's similar in that he can take something that looks bad and make it very, very good. Eli Stowers are tied in. Big threat. Trey Richardson, who transferred in. I think he's from a Division II school. Who cares? He's out there catching one-handers. He's a legit guy. They have some guys. They got 2 experienced, good running backs. They added some pieces from the portal to where, they lost a lot on the O-line, but they actually feel like they may have upgraded with some of the portal takes. So they have playmakers, and the style of offense they play is tough to play against, and they can get in third and short and just extend drives on you. So no doubt this is going to be a challenge. And if you look at last year's game, it was Pavia's worst game, I think, if you add in all factors from a passing standpoint out of games he actually played a lot in. He was 51% passing, no touchdowns. The only game of consequence aside from Alcorn State, where he didn't play very long, 55-0 win. He didn't throw a touchdown. That's the only other game. Didn't throw any picks, but Wes mentioned the play, had the strip sack. So turnovers, I think, are going to be significant. Something Chris Lee from Vandy Sports brought up to us yesterday. Carolina, of all the, there's been ugly, a lot of it in this offense, but knocking on wood, they have not turned the ball over. They had a near turnover in the Virginia Tech game on a sack that Sellers lost the ball, but they haven't turned it over. How much will that weigh in? If you're Carolina, can you force some mistakes to get Vandy off the field, take them out of their game, and can you take care of the ball yourself? And the other thing, guys, that really comes to mind as we sit here talking through this, which quarterback's better? Which quarterback's more impactful? If Sellers is Sellers, and we've seen some of those plays through the first 2 games, I have a feeling we're going to see a higher volume of this play is Lenore's go make something happen, whether it's design run, some of those special plays that he makes. Pavia will make his share. Which guy can make more?
I want to go back to what Wes was mentioning a moment ago, talking about third downs, because this game last year was significant. It was the best third down day Carolina had the entire year, not just from a conversion standpoint, because they went 9 of 12, which is 75%. Their average down and distance was only 5.5, which was the best out of the entire season last year. So, again, that was a big key into them, and they won the time of possession battle last year by about 2 minutes over, again, a very ball control type of offense. So that's going to be a major key going into Saturday's game, is making sure you can stay on the field, keep those drives going, because you're right. And, if you look at the model of what happened this past weekend, if you go 3 and out in your first 3 drives, it could be 5 minutes to go in the second quarter, and you're down multiple scores, because that's how Vanderbilt plays the game.
Todd, in that call you had a second ago, what do you say, Sellers comes out of the booth,
Comes out of the phone booth, yeah.
Superman comes out of the phone booth. At what point does Superman come out of the phone booth? And, I think this is important, y'all. We talked about it in the offseason. Can you limit the amount of times you have to force him to do that? And then South Carolina, for the most part, has done that. They have limited asking him to do that, and they're 2-0. But people are going, and I get it, rightfully so, well, hey, the offense doesn't look the same. What is up? Why is the offense not explosive right now? Why can't you block people? All these things are not specifically on Sellers, and it's not all specifically on the game plan. But if you are going to try to manage the hits your quarterback takes, there are times when you're going to have to say, that's out the window. We got to just go do everything we can to win this game. On paper, most years, that week is not against the Vanderbilt Commodores. In the year 2025, I believe that week is here.
Yep.
So let's get 16 going early and let Superman be Superman.
We'll head to Make Your Case coming up next as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs rolls along. Reminder tonight, Carolina Calls, Coach Beamer and Todd Ellis, as we just talked about a moment ago, tonight at 7 o'clock, which you can listen to right here on the game. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour on your Thursday on the game. Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Howard West and Chris with you on your Thursday here on the game. Reminder, the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest is back. If the Gamecocks score a special teams touchdown, you could win $100. Go online to 1075thegame.com and register. And it's already been a good year for special teams touchdowns so far, and we certainly hope that continues not only this weekend, but the entire season, as you can get yourself some money thanks to our friends over at Lawyer Lisa. As we look ahead to this game this weekend, I believe it is time to make your case. Today's question is, against Vanderbilt this weekend, we'll exclude the Norris Sellers because that's too easy of an answer. Who has the potential to have the biggest impact in this game?
Put us on the spot. Other than Lenora Sellers.
Other than Lenora Sellers. That's why I asked the questions.
This is like a few years ago when we had to say you can't say Spencer Rattler.
Yes, because again, quarterback, low-hanging fruit.
Chris, does anybody immediately come to your mind?
I had a couple guys. You know who'd be a decent pick is, you're thinking, this is not my pick, but if you're thinking, well, man, what if Akari Swain can make something happen again? Now, I think Vanderbilt will have the best special teams unit in terms of coverage South Carolina's faced. They're going to be very cognizant. Clark Lee in his Screw Watch film, too. I thought it was interesting what Shane Beamer said the other day. Lowe and Clark Lee and those guys, they're going to say, let's punt it to him and we'll go play and we'll figure out who's the best. I mean, that was a really good, I really it was a really good answer. And you're like, yeah, I could see that for sure. Like, we're not going to run from it. You go line up and you play football. You can't hide from it. Where my head went just immediately was offensively. I think the Gamecocks have got to score some points. They're going to need their best offensive performance in this game. Now, you may be saying that's a pretty kind of a lowish bar to clear, and I'll agree with you. But no doubt they need a much, much better offensive performance. I'm still waiting on Rasul Faison.
Okay.
He's actually on the depth chart still listed number 2. And I think we've seen that first couple games. Oscar Attaway's been out there. He may be out there first this game. But, just talking to some people that have watched Carolina through the first 2 weeks, there's still some intrigue around Rasul Faison, who last year rushed for 1,100 yards, broke a whole bunch of tackles at Utah State, had a really good year. I just think they need to get that run game on track. He's someone I'm looking at where I'm like, man, if you could get this guy a little space, let him operate, that's kind of where my head goes. I think he's gonna have opportunities, and I could see him making the most of those opportunities.
So my head immediately goes to the offensive line.
All of them?
Well, I'm going to give an answer to give Tyler an answer, but my thought process is just O-line. And yes, we can say some of the heat they have taken has been overblown. It truly has. It has not been all on them. But in the category, two things can be right at the same time. Yes, at times it is on them. There has not been a great push from the offensive line. There's not been enough cohesiveness from the offensive line. Particularly, I think you look at the left side. And I could maybe make an argument for multiple guys. I'm going to go... Let's go with Boaz Stanley. And even though he's not on the left side, and, I think certainly in game one, Boaz, I thought, played really, really well. All the conversation about communication up front. So my first thought was actually, let's go left guard, because that's the spot that's been the most in flux, basically. And you're going to have a true freshman starting there again. You can make a case there. But give me the guy in the middle of it all. Give me the guy that has to make sure, even if people don't hear Lenora Sellers, has to make sure that the entirety of this line and the tight ends who are blocking as well are on the same page. Give me the guy who basically is going to be charged with making sure some of these communication issues that we've heard about in the press conferences this week do not happen this weekend on Saturday. So you're going to need an offensive line that is all on the same page this week. So I'm not even necessarily talking about the physical components of this. But if Boaz could have a great game physically, but also that line just starts to look more cohesive out there, then that would mean very, very good things. Everything else will come together at that point.
I'm going to go defensively here. This game, we've talked about it a lot this week, with the type of offense that Vanderbilt runs. It forces you to be perfect in a lot of ways, a lot of eye candy, a lot of movement pre-snap. And I look at somebody that has surprised us because we expected him to play really well. But Jared Johnson's kind of been one of the standouts of this defense through the first 2 weeks. And playing that linebacker spot with a mobile quarterback like Diego Pavia, and I don't know if he would be assigned as the spy. I think Van Martin Scott did that a lot last year in this game, but I feel like he's going to play such an important role in keeping this offense, and Diego Pavia certainly, at bay, and having that line or a sideline to sideline speed like we've seen so much through these first couple games is pivotal in slowing down an offense. It's going to use a lot of, misdirection things and play horizontally that, a guy like him could end up having a huge impact once again on Saturday. And this would be, again, we've seen good things out of him so far, but this could be something that really sets the tone for what he can be in the SEC this year if he can play his role well on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. I mean, Pavia is going to have more than likely a play or two of his wow plays. And we even saw that last year. He jumped somebody for Carolina, and it felt like, at that moment, you could feel a little bit of a vibe shift. Like, these guys play for this guy. And you could feel like a little bit of momentum after that. Now, South Carolina was just good enough. Their defense was good enough. Their defensive line was good enough last year that they kind of just withstood that and kept playing their game. I think, to your point, Tyler, you just have to limit. You just have to limit those. Like, if he gets a couple of his big plays or whatever in a game, so what? What do they say? Put the ball down? So what? Put the ball down. It's if he takes over this game, and then those receivers, like Chris is talking about, it isn't just a ball control offense. They will stretch the field vertically. They will give their receivers a chance to go make plays, and you can't really have all those things going at once. From an opponent standpoint, and expect to win the game. Like, if you have Pavia making plays with his legs and their receivers making plays down the field, then and they're able to limit the game a little bit in terms of possessions. It's a great recipe if you're a Vanderbilt Commodore.
Yeah, and I feel like this one could go. Eventually, we'll just extend this thing out and start naming everybody. But I could go on the other side of your kind of pick the entire offensive line, the secondary. And it's going to be a bunch of them, right? Vanderbilt's going to try to find some matchups. They're looking at that Virginia Tech game that South Carolina played. They're looking at their own success against Virginia Tech, and they're going, we're going to throw the ball down the field. See if you can cover us. And Shane Beamer made a good point the other night. You'd be more concerned, because we've seen this in years past, if their guys are just running past your guys. We have not seen that yet. But this is going to be, I think, a big challenge on that front. Maybe nobody can even name a receiver on Vanderbilt's team. But they've got some. They've got Stowers. They've got Trey Richardson, who I mentioned. They've got Junior Sherrill. They've got some experience. They're going to throw the ball and put you in some one-on-one situations. Can you make more plays on the ball than we've seen? I also think, guys, what name we haven't mentioned, Dylan Stewart. He's a game wrecker. Mm-hmm. If you're going to slow down and limit, like you said, Wes, Pavia's plays, how much can Dylan Stewart be a part of that? He's the guy on the defense that has the greatest opportunity. I think if you're picking somebody defensively, he's got the greatest game-wrecking potential.
Yeah, I kind of just looked at him much like
it's like
it's almost kind of a given.
That was low-hanging fruit.
Yeah. Yes,
low-hanging fruit.
True.
It was kind of just an unspoken thing. Like Tyler literally spoke that we couldn't take Sellers. I was like, I feel like that kind of means we can't take
too easy.
Should I start putting Stewart on that list too? Of
probably
yes,
you can't say Dylan Stewart because that's too obvious.
If Bakari Swain returns another punt for touchdown, he will be on the list too.
He'll get on. You've earned yourself a place on the list. We'll come back, wrap up the hour. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game. Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris, along with you on your Thursday, wrapping up the hour here on The Game. Tomorrow, post-game show, going to be out at Columbia Craft from 3 until 6, hanging out, getting you set for another Carolina home game. And then at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, it's the high school football scoreboard show with Lige Campbell and Justin Hall, taking in all the great action going on in the Midlands for another high school football Friday night. I wanted to mention this. One of Chris's most favorite topics is officiating in college football and the accountability of officials that is lacking in a lot of ways. Did you see what the Big 12 did over the weekend in reference to the Missouri-Kansas game?
They suspended somebody somebodies.
They suspended the whole crew.
Yeah.
There was a situation where Missouri had been flagged after a touchdown on sportsmanlike conduct, which moved them back on the kickoff. And Eli Drinkwitz was like, hey, can we punt on the kickoff and do a free kick, basically? And they said, yeah, sure. You're not allowed to do that. Eli Drinkwitz knew they weren't allowed to do that, but he asked anyway and got away with it. And instead of putting out a statement of saying, well, we knew the crew was wrong and they're going to be better next time, the Big 12 actually put their foot down and said, no, you guys don't get to officiate this weekend. So I'd say hats off to finally holding some officials accountable in college football.
Yeah, I mean, you got to love that. Now, I will say this. There is something a little different between there being a sort of subjective call where maybe we all think it's a terrible call, but it's still a little bit of a interpretation or something of what happened. This was a very clear, you are not allowed to do that, and we allowed you to do that in the course of a football game that has millions of dollars involved, basically. And so I will say this, though, kudos to the Big 12 for just putting something behind what they did. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing to – it's like if you have a kid and you just tell them, don't do that or you're grounded, but then you never ground them. Why am I listening to that? So kudos to the Big 12 for actually doing something about it. But I think this only happens if it is a clear, obvious mistake where you had no choice but to admit this was a screw-up.
Yeah, it's not a judgment call. Like a lot of the, of course, we're always going to go back to that LSU game. And, yes, it's incredibly frustrating when you look back and they call a pass interference and you're like, there's absolutely nothing there. Official can always say, well, I thought I saw it. Maybe he goes back later and said, actually, I didn't see what I thought I saw. But this is like a clear cut. If you, I can't even think of another, example, right? It'd be like if can we, instead of kicking the extra point, can I just hold the ball and punt it through the uprights, or something like, just like something crazy. It's like, well, actually, no, you can't do that at all.
It was a clear going against what the rules state. And the example that I think of that, again, the SEC put out a statement but didn't really punish anybody for, think back to the Georgia-Texas game last year where there was a controversial pass interference on Texas and that they got wrong on the field initially, like it wasn't PI. You have fans throw crap on the field, and they eventually turn it over during the long delay. Well, you're not supposed to be able to do that. Once a flag is thrown and you've already conferred and said, hey, it's a penalty, regardless if you got it right or not, it stands. But because of this delay, the officials decided to overturn it, and we were all watching the game like, hey, that's not how this works. And even the league admitted to that afterwards, but nobody got in trouble. It was like, oh, hey, they messed up. It's okay. It's like at least the Big 12 is saying, no, you messed up, and we're going to make sure you realize you've done something wrong and you don't get to work this weekend.
My favorite thing about the whole thing was Drinkwitz' quote, just basically like, well, sometimes you just think, hey, I might not be able to get away with this, but you ask anyway, and then you maybe get the answer you didn't expect.
Can you imagine what he was thinking? Because, he knew, and then if the guy's like, yeah, the official's like, yeah, you can do that, he's probably like, okay.
Well, and he said, he's like, well, they'd screwed up a lot of other things, so we thought, why not? I mean, I respect it. Why not? Shoot your shot, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that. Are you making me be a part-time Drinkwitz fan with this?
He is a content.
Because I kind of like that, actually.
He's good for content. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I mean, the SEC, to go back to that point with the Georgia Tech, yeah, we shouldn't have done that. You know, I still don't understand the whole shroud of secrecy thing, because I'm sure if Sankey was ever asked about it again, he'd probably say, we hold our officials accountable. We handle it in-house. It's like, well, do you? Because we don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't know what's happening. So,
They're not allowed to, get the buffet after the game, or, they have to fly coach or something like that to the next assignment. Like, what's the deal here? Because we don't see it.
Do refs get a buffet after the game?
I don't know. If they do you take it away when they have bad calls? Again, we'd just like to know what's up. We just want some accountability.
Want some transparency.
Some transparency, exactly. So ball's in your court, Greg.
For sure.
One thing that the Big 12 is doing better right now.
That's right.
That's it. So
not a whole lot, but it is something.
It's something. Should adopt it.
That'll do it for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Halftime show up next here in the game.